Hello. I don't do many videos. I think I've only done like 2 in the past. But the reason I wanted to make this one today is because, touch wood, my anxiety's not been too bad today. But I wanted to talk a bit about anxiety because I think that there's, obviously a lot of people know that it's really, really common. Anxiety disorders are really common. But there's still a lot of lack of understanding, and there's kind of people don't really know how it affects people. Like when you have an anxiety disorder, I think it's really important to make it clear that that's different from feeling anxious for like an exam or if you're doing a speech or something. We all get nerves, and I'm not downplaying that, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's less real or anything like that. It's just those nerves are good for us. Anxiety is good for us, at a certain level. Keeps us on our toes for things like exams and speeches and presentations and whatever. It's really good for that because it makes us aware, and we keep it keeps us on the ball. We keep focused. The problem is that people like yours truly, when they have an anxiety disorder, it's constant. It's extremely tiring to always be worried and anxious, and just it affects your life so much that it can be absolutely crippling. And unfortunately for me at the minute, my anxiety has really peaked. I know why. There are a lot of factors going on in my life that that would happen. I do forget that sometimes, but I think it's really important to remember that life events do obviously play a massive part. But the reason I wanted to make this video is because I want to talk a bit about how my anxiety affects me, in the hope that people who are watching this understand it a little bit better, and that anyone who's watching and perhaps is suffering and doesn't realise what they're going through almost, or they're frightened of their symptoms, and I'm still frightened of my symptoms, but I sometimes think that if you know that someone else is going through it and that you're not the only one, it can stop you feeling so alone. And it's very easy when you have an anxiety disorder to kind of feel as though you're the only person in the world going through it, and trust me, I felt like that. And despite the fact that I understand my anxiety a lot better now, it doesn't change the fact that when I'm having a panic attack that I do feel as though the whole world has its eyes on me, and that no one else has experienced it. I know that's not true. I'm at the moment I'm quite on a par, and I can logically I can come to a logical conclusion that other people obviously do suffer from this. So yeah, my anxiety. So at the minute, I probably have at least one panic attack every day. But I think it's important to differentiate between and this is me personally, but there is a difference in my eyes between an anxiety attack and a panic attack. A panic attack is probably a lot more full on in some ways. An anxiety attack for me tends to be more short-lived. I can come down off of them a lot quicker. Panic attack will probably knock me for 6 for the rest of the day, and at the minute I'm probably having one a day, nearly every day. I have had a few days recently where I've actually had more than one, and those days I've ended up going to bed because I just think, do you know what, I'll write today off and I'll worry about it again tomorrow. So my anxiety attacks and panic attacks, I suppose they kind of start in the same way. There can be a trigger. So triggers for me tend to be my emetophobia obviously plays a big part. So if I think that I've been exposed, or if I've touched something, or or I've not washed my hands a certain way, that will play on my mind. so that'll raise my anxiety levels and make me more susceptible to an anxiety or a panic attack. Other things that trigger it for me are sort of being too hot. So I work in quite a hot office. That can play a really big part. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like a claustrophobia type thing, or if it's that I feel there's not enough air in the room. But as soon as my temperature goes up, that tends to kind of make me feel a bit on edge and a bit sort of shaky. Other things, weirdly, being hungry. Being hungry seems to be a thing for me, but the problem is that I'll feel hungry. I don't realise that it's like a hunger pang that I'm having, and I start to feel quite shaky if I've not eaten enough or whatever, or not had enough sugar. And then I'll misinterpret that, and then my mind just catastrophises, and I'll think, oh my God, here comes the panic attack, or I'm not well, or whatever, and and it just escalates and escalates into something, and it turns out sort of an hour later I'm like, actually I'm really hungry. So there's a variety of triggers, and other people will have different ones, but they're mine. The problem I have at the minute though is that I'm either not good enough at working out what my triggers are, or it's just that there isn't one. So I'm finding that I could be sitting there, and I mean sometimes I can be really relaxed. I could be watching a TV programme, and all of a sudden I just get this wave, and my cat's not coming. Sorry about that. So I'll get this wave, and it's like a wave of nausea, but at the same time it's like dread. It's this absolute dread, and I can't describe it any better. I just feel like the worst. I don't even know. It's like the worst feeling, and it's just like, oh my God, and I can't cope with that. I can't cope with that feeling. I find that really hard. Following from that, that's when my heart rate goes up. So I have quite a high. I have quite a high resting heart rate anyway because of my anxiety, believe it or not. So I've been to the doctors, and it's like nothing to worry about, but it's just that it's because of how I breathe. I don't probably breathe how you should, because I tend to breathe from my chest, so I kind of don't get enough air in. So my heart rate is quite high anyway. And then when I've got the start of an anxiety or a panic attack coming on, it ups and ups and ups, and I feel it. I can feel it go up, and obviously that's meant to happen when you're exercising or when you're going for a walk. That's not meant to happen when you're sitting still. So it's really, it's horrible. It's to sit there, and even though you're not moving, it's like going up and up and up and up, and I start to feel it everywhere. I feel it. Obviously I feel it in my chest, and I can see it, and I feel it in my fingers and in my wrists, and I feel it pulsating in my stomach. And it's horrible. It's horrible to be able to feel that much. And then I tend to get quite I was talking to a really good friend of mine about how stress affects people differently, and she was saying how she knows someone and it affects their eyes, and their eyes tend to get puffy, or other people, they get headaches. For me it goes to my stomach, which is really frustrating because that then triggers my emetophobia. So it's kind of like this, it's a really vicious circle. So I get these intensive stomach pains and stomach aches, and it's just, it's horrible. So yeah, that's how it affects me. And then because this comes on so quickly, and then I can't breathe, then I struggle to get any air, and because of that I then get really lightheaded and get really dizzy, and I tend to sit there, and I tend to touch my face. I don't know why I do it, but it's just it's like I'm holding on for something. I just need to do something with myself. So I'll kind of go into myself. I tend to kind of sit there, if I'm at my desk I'll kind of do this, and over from at college, and it's just kind of to hide away from the world a little bit. The problem is that they're so intensive and they can come on so quickly that all I want to do, and 9 times out of 10 all I do is run. So I'll leave. I'll just get up and have to have a few minutes, and there is nothing wrong with that. And I think that if you are suffering with anxiety and panic attacks, like, remember that it's okay to do that. I mean, I suppose it's not a long-term solution, but sometimes what you do need is some fresh air. And I know that is not the answer to it, trust me, because it's not. But I find that, especially if, say, like, I'm too hot, if I go outside and it's cold, and I tend to feel the cold quite easily, it's like a little shock to my system, and it's kind of like a reboot, and I find that really helps. Or touching cold things. So if I go outside and touch a brick wall, it's like, oh, okay. Because another part of my anxiety for me is that if it becomes so in depth, if it gets beyond a certain stage, I start to feel as though I'm not in my own skin. And I really, really hate that part. I really hate that part where it's like it's like my brain is separate from the rest of me. And I can hear my subconscious, but it's like my subconscious is in control. I can't really explain it. It's kind of like a disassociation, I suppose, because it's so intense what I've experienced that all I do is I guess my mind just wants to leave my body while it goes through whatever it has to go through. And I really do hate that. It's scary, and it's when you come back from it, when it's been that bad, all I want to do is sleep. Cry and sleep. Just cry the kind of tension away and then sleep for the rest of the day. And I have had to do that. I have had to do that on a few occasions. I remember I had a situation at college a few weeks back, and I had 2 panic attacks quite close together. Absolutely scared the life out of me. Didn't see it coming whatsoever. And I sat there in lesson and I just thought, I can't be here. I cannot be here. I'm not taking anything in anymore. And that's the problem with an anxiety disorder. It wreaks havoc with... Wreaks havoc? Oh, I don't even know what I'm saying. It's because I'm thinking about it, I think. But, it just kind of... It ruins your focus. It ruins your concentration. And because you're always on this high, you're always aware and alert, and you're like really sensitive to everything. So no wonder we're tired all the time, because we're not meant to be feeling like that 24/7. We shouldn't be that on edge. We're not. It's that flight or fight response. But the problem is that we don't really need to be doing either. We are constantly at that level though. When you have an anxiety disorder, you're constantly like, what am I going to do next? What is happening? And your mind just works overtime. It's awful. And the problem is that because of it, I know that I've done this a lot recently. Is that, excuse me, it's like, it's so crippling that if I think that I start to think, oh, I can't do that. I can't go out today. I can't meet this person. I can't face that because I will have a panic attack. I don't know that. No one can see that happening. You can't, there's nothing to tell you whether you will or not. But that's the pain that anxiety is. It stops you because you start to think, but there's a chance. And if there's a chance that I will, and I can avoid that potentially happening, then I should protect myself. And it is a coping mechanism, and the problem is it's not a healthy one. It's not. I'm quite lucky in the sense that a lot of people around me now know how my anxiety manifests. And for example, I have a fantastic college friend, and she will come out, get cold water with me, which is always brilliant. Icy cold water is like it's like, whoa, like, it brings me back down. So I always find that helps. I've got some fantastic teachers. I have a workshop supervisor in particular who has taught me about EFT, which is emotional freedom tapping. Apologies if I've got that wrong. But yeah, I think it's emotional freedom tapping or emotion freedom tapping or something. Don't get me wrong, when I first heard it, I literally thought, what on earth are you talking about? That sounds like the most whimsical thing ever that will not work. Well, I got proved wrong. And I'm not saying that when I tap that it's actually curing me or anything like that. I think it's a distraction. And if that's how it works, I really couldn't care less. If that's how it's working for me, it's brilliant. If you want to find out more about EFT, if you just go onto YouTube and write like EFT for anxiety or whatever, there's so many videos and it's great. It's great. I found some. Sorry, I'm getting a stiff leg. I found some really good ones to help me when I'm actually having a panic attack, and it's brilliant. And because there's sort of so many different ways and things that you can, things you can do, you can be really subtle about it. Because obviously, just like anyone else, I don't really want anyone seeing me doing this, like when I'm walking down the street or whatever. Like, I don't want to be drawing any more attention to myself whilst I'm having a panic attack. So I can empathise with that. But you can find ones that you can just do really subtle. And one that really helps me in particular is I think it's these two fingers, and you just tap sort of on the underside of your hand. And obviously, like, I could do that really, really subtly. Like, it doesn't have to be that obvious, which is great. Yeah, so back to people who have helped me. So yeah, I'm really lucky at college. I've got a fantastic support network at work as well. And my family are good. I think it's taken a while to get there, but that's because I've had to understand it, and I've not understood in the past what I need. And I'm starting to get there now. I'm starting to realise that sometimes there are going to be days when my anxiety is really high, and I probably can't do as much. And I think that if you are watching this video and you're suffering with an anxiety disorder or panic attacks or, I hope that you can take that away, that it's okay to kind of not be okay. It's okay to have days where it's just a little bit too much, and all you have to do, if only it was that simple, but the way you have to think of it is, today is just one day, get some rest. I always find that tiredness makes my anxiety a bazillion times worse. Get some rest, and the next day you'll feel a bit more with it, hopefully, and you'll be able to take on a bit more. If you can't manage one day, then it's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't signify a complete relapse. It's just one day. And if you do have anxiety and you're worried about it, then tell people around you, tell people what you're going through, and let them help you, let them support you. Even if you don't know what you need, be honest about it. Don't be frightened of it. Don't let it win. Because that's what I've done for so long. And it doesn't bloody deserve to win. It doesn't. It's, it is petrifying. It is petrifying. And unless you've been through it, it's really hard to understand what it is. So the only way that we can get, the only way we can get support is if we tell people we love around us what we're going through, because if they've not been through it, they can't understand it. That doesn't make them bad, or it doesn't make you bad, or whatever. It's just that they've not been through it. So it's up to us to educate the majority. So, and we should. So yeah, that's kind of, I hope I've not rambled too long about nothing, and I hope this hasn't been completely pointless. But yeah, I just want, like I said, I just want people to know that it is debilitating. If you don't have it, then it is crippling, and it can really affect your quality of life when it's really bad. However, if you're suffering with it, don't let it win, because there are ways that you can manage it. I'm not saying there's an overnight cure. One thing that I've been told is that I'll probably never be cured of it. I'll probably always, I got told this a few weeks back, that because of how long I've had my anxiety, unfortunately, I'm probably never going to get rid of it completely. And while that was really hard to hear at first, it's kind of like, okay, well, now I've digested that, what am I going to do with my life to manage it the best that I can? Because if I let this win, I'll never do anything. I want to be a teacher. I'm not going to manage that if I let my anxiety rule my life. And we all, I know it's hard, I'm not saying it's easy, but we have a choice in that, in that sense. We, don't let this hold you back. However hard it may be, don't let it win, because that's what it wants. It wants to stop you living your life. And it shouldn't, because you have a right to a future. You have a right to do what you want and to have ambitions and goals and dreams. And I always thought that maybe I'd never fulfill them because of what I've been through, and made the choice that that's not going to happen, because if I do, then there's not much point in in me having anything. And I don't want to get into that. Like it's like I don't know really what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is just there is help, and there are ways that we can deal with it, and or learn to deal with it and learn to manage it. Things like CBT, things like EFT, things like counselling, whatever it is, there are ways. You just need to find your way. The same as I probably still need to find my exact one. The EFT helps, but I know that it's not the only thing that I can do. For some people, it'll be medication. I'm trying to steer clear of that as much as I can. I don't want to go down that route anymore, and it's not for me. But for some people, that might be what you want. But yeah, so please don't give up. Please don't give in. And just remember that you're not the only one. So yeah, thank you for listening, and take care.